Welcome back to Who Won the Week. I'm Matt Ulrich, media analyst at EDO, the TV outcomes company. I'm joined here again with by Rebecca Sandidge, business part. Oh shoot! So let's rerun that thing. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back to Who Won the Week. I am Matt Ulrich, media analyst at EDO, the TV outcomes company. I'm with Rebecca Sandidge here again, EDO brand partnerships, and we had a wild Iowa basketball game last night that I know is something we talked about pre-show, and we're very excited to talk about the impact of that and other tournament games on advertising this week.
Yeah. Everybody's a buzz about Iowa. I mean, the Holy Cross Iowa game was great, and I think that the advertisers in that game are really pleased.
I mean, I'm excited to see the results from last night's game.
Yeah.
They barely escaped West Virginia. There were a few key plays, there's some trash talking. I feel like the moment felt big already, and
Yeah.
it's only the second round. So
Yeah.
I know we have some data based on the first round already. The second round data is going to come in soon, and we'll see if it builds towards a kind of a grand conclusion later in the tournament for advertisers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we looked at the the top ad airings in the women's tournament in the first round, right? And looked
Yep.
at
Yep.
the engagement spikes for those ad airings. And I think we have a stat here around 9 of the top 10 first round ad airings happened during that Holy Cross Iowa game. It's
And that means like
crazy.
the so it's the out of the 10 biggest spikes in branded search engagement based on ads the whole first round women's tournament. We're saying that 9 out of the top 10 were just during that Iowa first round game.
Yep, that's right. So just speaks to how attentive viewers are when
Yeah.
they are watching anything featuring Caitlin Clark. I mean, she's just been all over the place and really driving a lot of engagement. And when she's in games, when she's in ads, right? So
Yep.
we've talked about this before. She's a spokesperson for, let's see, Nike and State Farm are the big ones. Actually, I
Yep.
think there's a report last week. ESPN said that she makes 7 figures from these NIL deals, which is
That's crazy,
nuts. I
isn't
mean,
it?
good for her.
It's
And for
wild.
those, yeah. Um, and for those who aren't like familiar with the NIL, it stands for name, image, likeness. And up until a couple
Yep.
years ago, um, student athletes didn't get compensated, right? And since then, that rule has changed. There was a Supreme Court ruling saying that they could get compensated, and now they are. So we've got a lot of student athletes in these ads.
Well, I think what's interesting, right, is like we're talking about this Iowa game where 9 out of the top 10 largest spikes in search engagement were driven in that game. And a lot of those ads, like I'm just looking in our dashboard, right? We have Dick's Sporting Goods, we have Buick, we have
Hmm.
Cracker Barrel as three of those top ads. None of those brands are directly featuring, Caitlin Clark or NIL. And then we have this whole other subset of brands that are also featuring the college athletes. So you mentioned Caitlin Clark for State Farm, for Nike. I know there's a Gatorade ad as well. So there's two
Yeah,
different ways that brands are really working with this environment of March Madness and college sports, and now bringing in, Caitlin Clark mentioned this is the women's tournament might be the bigger than the men's tournament this year based on the
yeah,
stars in it and the storylines. And I know that so we talked about that first camp of brands that are just generally benefiting from the media environment and how engaged fans are and audiences are with ads. And then we
hmm,
have the second camp that is actually working with athletes with NIL deals now that they are allowed to do that. And I think we talked about was it TurboTax on that
yep.
one? That's Yep.
TurboTax is another one that's really tapping into this. So they have UNC star Armando Baycott in an ad, and I'm sure that their marketing team, all marketing teams with deals with these NIL student athletes, are wondering like, what does that
Yeah.
really get them? What's the payoff? Is it worth it? What's the value of partnering with these student athletes? And if I'm TurboTax, I'm super pleased with the performance of the Armando Bacot ad, because we're seeing that it's 42% more likely to engage viewers with TurboTax versus the average ad from TurboTax. So um, big spike there. He's definitely driving people to tune in and take note of the ad, of the brand in
Yeah.
the ad. So yeah, really great to see that this approach is working, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Armando Bacot, he's really established his brands over the last few tournaments. And now he's coming back. Now it's right, TurboTax. It's like tax season. I feel like it's this prime synergy between
Yeah.
now established March Madness star on a top ranked team that they probably figured is going to make it pretty far, and then then tax season. And you mentioned that 42% more likely
Yep.
stat. So Intuit must be into it, based on how that ad's performing so far. Sorry to set
Good
up
one,
that
Matt.
joke. Yes. All right. We tried.
Love it.
And and then they're also, so that's like TV premium ads that EDO really specializes in. Then I know there's the player for Oakland men's basketball, Jack Golke, the
Yeah.
one who is hitting like 10 threes in the first round upset, and then he still hit a bunch in the second round even though they lost. And he, in between the first and second games, he recorded on his phone in the hotel an ad for TurboTax as well, where he does like a jump shot, but he's just like talking about very quickly the benefits of TurboTax. So they're getting these premium ads with UNC players. They're getting these like in between, taking advantage of small moments in the tournament that
Yep.
might in a few weeks be forgotten. But right now, everyone was talking about the Jack Gelke player on Oakland.
Yep. Yeah, it's TurboTax is just like on it. They seem like just one step ahead of everyone else in some ways, and like really taking advantage of that synergy of the player with the games, and kind of riding the coattails of all the buzz that some of these players are getting, particularly the Oakland guy. So another question I
Yeah.
think that we're getting a lot right now
Hmm.
from our clients, not just like what's the value of this kind of creative approach, and
Yep.
if we're going to invest in partnering with a student athlete, what does that produce? But um, other things that are kind of harder to measure and like anticipate, like the outcome of the game, right? Like you never know whether it's going to be a super close
Right.
game or a blowout. And that's the kind of dynamic that can really impact viewer attentiveness, brand performance in the games because of that attentiveness, right? So
Right.
that's definitely something that we here at the team at EDO are hearing a lot from the marketplace. Like, what's the value of like what happens with those very close games?
Right. And I know that one of the biggest spikes in search engagement in the first round came for a trailer right during the overtime commercial break between Texas A&M and Houston. So, Texas A&M hit that crazy buzzer
Oh, what a
beater to
game.
tie it up against Houston, and they're like heavily, heavily the underdog. Houston's the big favorite, 1 seed, and so that game goes to overtime. And then we have this sequence where it's the last minute of overtime, and there's only room for two commercials, and so it's in between free throws. In overtime, they run two commercials, and both of those commercials I think got large engagement volume scores, and the trailer got the largest engagement volume score of the day for the tournament. So that's
Wow,
just
for
a
the
little bit
day.
of like for the day, for the
Wow,
day.
at
So I feel like it's like
midnight.
a tangent,
Nuts.
and like we should test it out, and I know we want to for certain clients, like more rigorously. But there's at least like some information that supports that these big moments in in big games drive more engagement because viewers are just glued to the screen, and whether they are waiting for the game to come back on, whether that's the reason, they are engaging more with the ads in between the game during the commercial pods in those key moments.
Yep, yep. Things that are hard to plan for, but certainly important to measure,
Yeah,
after the fact
yeah,
once they happen. So
yeah,
that's one way that EDO really helps its clients, next day measurement of those big moments. you know, to send up to the ladder
Right.
to the leadership, like what did this do for the brand? What can we learn from it for moving forward?
Yeah, I know, and brands. So I think brands will be rooting for close games and some of the bigger stars on both women's and men's bracket to keep advancing. Close games, big
Yeah,
stars should generate larger spikes, and I know we're excited at EDO
yeah,
to quantify that and say how much more did that ad drive than your average ad overall, like in your campaign or your average March Madness ad. So those should be some good stats that we start to uncover over the next couple weeks.
yep. Close games are good for the advertisers. Though I do hope that all the UNC games are blowouts in the favor of UNC. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that. I'm really excited for the second round. My bracket's doing
Yeah,
well. So
good
I don't
luck.
think
Yeah,
better than
I know.
yours, but that's okay.
Mine's
There's still
struggling, but
time.
if Marquette wins it all, I think we got a shot. We got a shot here.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm excited to keep watching the ads, keep watching the games, and just talking this through with you. Appreciate
Yeah.
your time,
Lots of
Rebecca. It was good
storylines.
having you
Thank
on
you,
again.
Matt. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Have have a great rest of your March Madness day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye, Rebecca.